and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm Jade Harrell, and I'm joined by Amber KLEAR, Amy Rivera, and Miss TEENA Love today. Welcome back, ladies.
Hey,
Jade.
glad to be back.
I'm gonna need a little more enthusiasm out of a couple of you.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So since you've got smiles on your face, let's start with what you're loving. Amy.
I knew you were going to say me. I am loving that I just printed my first book, Drop the Skirt, How My Disability Became My Superpower. I am so many different emotions right now, but the copy will be available for purchase September 1st. It will be available in Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Android, Apple, a Kindle version, you name it, you got it.
Give me one of each with an autograph as well, please.
Absolutely.
What about you, Miss TEENA Love?
I am loving traveling right now. Like, I am just really enjoying getting out and visiting different places that I've never been. And so, yeah, and then seeing other people traveling. It just seems like everybody is traveling right now. I mean, I need to go and buy a piece of luggage. I couldn't find luggage anywhere. Okay. So that just tells me people are really out and about and they are traveling around the globe. So that's good. That's what I'm
You're inspiring me. You're inspiring me. Amber KLEAR, what are you loving right now?
Art, beauty all around. I spent the weekend just immersed in art. I went to Naughty Gras, the erotic art show, and that was fun. And then I went to the immersive Van Gogh exhibit that's in Chicago. It's actually coming to the St. Louis. It's not the same company, but it is an immersive art experience, and it is amazing. And it gave me a moment to like find beauty there, but then also reminded me to help find it elsewhere. So I needed that. It was good. It was good. I love art.
Wow. Up to big, big things. Well, you may have heard that show business is serious business. For all of its glamour and fanfare, there is as much pressure, stress, and certainly controversy. From entertainment to sports, music to movies, the mental health toll on artists and athletes alike is taking center stage in much of the industry's conversation today. Joining us to discuss this more is entertainment lawyer Barbara Graham. Barbara, thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Well, you have a perspective that many of us couldn't because you know the inside of the game. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and your company?
My office is in Clayton and I'm an attorney. I actually don't do just entertainment law. I also do domestic relations. But on the entertainment law side, I kind of say that's the fun part, as opposed to having to get people divorced. On the entertainment law side, I am mostly transactional, which means that what I deal with is the contracts and licensing and paperwork for people. So I am looking at the contracts that come from the labels or the managers or the distributors or the people that are looking to make lots of money off of my client and keep my client from making money or having the freedom that they want, and trying to make it as friendly to my client as possible.
It sounds like that's the norm. You're in protection mode and defense mode. Is it really that cutthroat still?
Yes, a lot of it is very defense mode. It's looking for traps in a contract and looking for one of the most important things is I always want to find a way for my client to get out of the contract. I always want to build something in there so that they're not stuck in a bad contract and a bad deal with somebody for a long time. So
sure,
there's a lot of, it's a lot of defensive things that I have to ask to have built into contracts.
I would imagine in your experience, you've seen every kind of scenario. Talk about the importance of having good representation and how you even anticipate the pitfalls or traps that may lie ahead.
It's very important to have good representation. Not only is it important to have representation, but if you are in the entertainment business, it's important to have somebody that understands the entertainment business. Your basic contract lawyers know how to deal with a contract for a business or a contract for a house or something like that. But there are words in the music and the entertainment business that everybody else isn't using. And so people need to understand what those mean. People also need to know what's a good deal and what's a bad deal, and what is the industry standard at the moment. What are other labels offering and what are artists getting, so that you'll know if you're actually getting a decent deal or not.
I imagine it's easier to get people in good contracts than it is for you to get them out of bad contracts.
Much. Yes.
What do you
People-
think the percentage?
yes.
Yeah, I'm curious what the percentage is, because it's always, I work in entertainment. It's always like, when do I need this? When do I go and have an entertainment attorney look at this? So how much do you deal with getting people out of bad contracts and versus getting them into good contracts? And what do you wish your clients do before they came to you?
I'll start this by saying I totally prefer to just get them started in a good contract, because getting them out of a bad contract, a lot of the times it involves court, and that's not what they want to have to spend their money on. And so I mean, every single contract for every gig or every little tiny transaction is not necessary to see a lawyer about. But anything that is going to have you involved in a deal where you're tied up with that person for more than maybe a couple of weeks or a month or two is something you should very definitely show to a lawyer, because it is so much easier to start out with a good contract than it is to try to get somebody out of a bad one. To get somebody out of a bad one, it's very rare that you get a judge that's going to just void the entire contract. What you end up having to do is enter into some kind of a settlement where the artist is still going to give up something substantial to get out of that contract.
So Barbara, would you say that the most common trap then is the time frame in which an entertainer is tied down to, working with a certain party? Is that it? Is that one of the most common traps that you see in contracts and working in this business?
I think so, yes, because if it's a contract that goes on for just a few days or something like that, then no matter how bad it is, at least they're done with it. So the time frame and how long they're tied up and the ability to get out of it if things aren't going well is very, very important. Most artists in the music business, well, none of them are getting any younger, and time is of the essence. And in a lot of the situations, youth is of the essence. So they need to be able to do what they want to do right now. And the music business is very fickle, as is all the entertainment business. So if they're hot right now, they don't want to be stuck in a situation where they can't get out of a deal for 3 years. They might not be hot in those 3 years.
Yeah. So like
Our conversation, we started our conversation and the focus on the mental health toll. Is that showing up now in your negotiation and beginning agreements with the people that you represent? And how is that taking more of a prominent role in those conversations?
It's probably not something that's gotten to the contractual phase yet. It probably should, although it's not an easy thing to address in the contractual phase, because it's likely something that you don't really even know is going to come up. But it is something that I have seen in the past in the entertainment industry. And I am so glad that sports has brought it to the forefront, because it's a big deal. I am a parent of a college athlete, so I see it all the time. I see it in him. I see it in his teammates. I mean, I used to always say the mood in our house rose and fell with my son's batting average. So, it's huge. Athletes and entertainers both they base their self-esteem on their performance, be it on the field, on the stage, in the recording studio. And so you've got tremendous amounts of pressure on these entertainers as well as the athletes to perform and to perform to a certain level and to do that all the time. And it's very, very difficult for them. And when they're not able to perform, everything is just kind of shattered for them. And one of the places I have seen it in entertainers is when you've got a kid that's a songwriter. I mean, he's a singer, songwriter, or a rapper, and they have 5, 6 great songs, and a label signs them, and then goes and throws them in the studio and just says, "Now write." And
That's how it works. Yeah.
right. It's a tremendous amount of work. They're under a lot of pressure to write, because they've got the producer sometimes sitting out there waiting for them at the soundboard for them to come in and record something. And it's a lot of pressure. And one of the problems is the more successful these artists become, the more pressure they have on them, because it gets to the point that they are supporting other people. They're supporting their family. They're supporting whoever's on their crew. They're supporting their friends some of the time that are doing some work for them. And they are looking at, if they can't produce, if they can't write the right song or put together the stage show or whatever they're needing to do, then all these other people don't eat. And these people, they seldom hold back on telling them that. So they have an enormous amount of pressure on them. And I thought that Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, they nailed it with that just the amount of pressure that when you get up to this level, then, when you're a nobody, you have a lot less pressure on you. You're stressed and wanting to get to the higher level, but you don't have the expectations. You're maybe the only person that has the expectations of yourself. You don't have the family expectations, and you don't have a record label's expectations, which can just be awful, because record labels are very much, what have you done for me lately? And it's not really much different than the Major League Baseball player. His batting average goes down, he gets sent back down to the minor leagues. And it's the same thing with a record label. They will shelve you. They will just forget you even existed. So it's very difficult.
To go to break. Yeah. Just before we go to break, Barbara, what can be done real quick in your assessment to protect your clients before they enter into an agreement, but also when you talk about Naomi and others, once they get the backlash for maybe standing up or protecting themselves in those cases?
Well, they probably, and I'm sure that the people at the top have this, need to have access to good mental health resources, somebody to talk to. And that's probably, to me, one of the most important things, and not having family that's all over you when you're not producing. Hopefully your family has their own income and their own ability to support themselves, so they're not relying on you, because that would just stress these people out even more. So I think that's something. And one of the things that artists in the entertainment world do not have is health insurance. So if they need, they can get health insurance, and if you get yourself a good business manager, they'll make sure you have it. But if you don't have health insurance, I think, how are you going to go and get yourself some type of help if you need to talk to somebody? And then I think support groups, maybe just in the industries, are something that would be very useful as well. And I think, a baseball player or a hockey player, they got their teammates to talk to, but who does a rapper have to talk to? They don't. You're kind of by yourself. if
It'd be
you're,
hard to talk to other rappers too, though, because
yes,
these people are clamoring to like beat you down so they can succeed.
and they're going to see you as weak.
Yes.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and we have more questions for Barbara. So don't go anywhere. Barbara, we'll be right back with you, and everyone else, we'll be right back with you as well. Stay with us.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund breeding.
Why do you not get me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Welcome back. We've been speaking with Barbara Graham of the law office of Barbara Graham, LLC. Let's jump right back in. Amy.
You know, Barbara, I've been watching the Britney Spears story unfold, and I've been following Britney Spears since the famous moment she shaved her head. When I saw that moment, I knew right then and there she was in a crisis for mental health, a mental health crisis, and she needed love and security and support. I didn't see a girl going on a rampage, however the social media made her look. When you have new beginning stars or athletes come to you, is that one of the topics you talk about first? Is the mental health aspect, like the pressure that's going to come with the success and the liability that lies on their shoulders?
Well, normally when they first come to me, I don't really realize that, nor do they, the level of success that they might get to. So it's not something, and it's not something that they're thinking about. When you're just on your way up, you don't think about that probably for a long time. So it's one of the things more that I'm more likely to discuss with them than the mental health type issues and the pressure issues, is more being careful who they associate themselves with and being careful how accessible they make themselves to those people. Because that's usually what's more likely to cause a problem for them on the way up than the mental health issues, which usually don't set in for a little while once they've kind of gotten to be successful.
Yeah, because when I saw that, you see, so you say be careful who you surround yourself around. Well, for example, Britney Spears' situation, it was her family that, so when you have those kind of waters you're treading, how does that work for someone whose family members are managing them, so to speak?
It's very difficult when they are the age that Britney was when she started out. She was what, 16, 17, maybe even younger than that. Your parents have control over you at that point. And even if you go and get a manager, you are still going to have your parents basically in charge. So it's something that's just, you can't really escape that.
As a child star, the contracts that her parents signed when she was 15 and 16, do those contracts like keep going once she's turned 18? Or is it stop and it becomes her decision again at 18?
Yeah, that's what
what happened, I've had some kid clients. And so what happens with those contracts is that if it is somebody that's going to be with a major label or any entity where a bunch of money is going to get spent on them, they are going to go through what's called a court approval. So, and this provides a little bit of protection from the parents, not a whole lot though. So what happens is that anybody that's under 18 that signs a contract is considered, you're considered to be under a legal disability. And it means that you were not really somebody that's fit to sign a contract. So if you just sign it and you're 18, you can walk away from it. So I represent labels as well as artists, and I've had labels that have said, well, how about if we have the parents sign the contract? Well, that doesn't really work, to just have the parents sign it, because then all you're doing is signing the parents. And if you don't want the parents as a recording artist, then you're not really helping. So what happens is that the contract has to go to a court. It doesn't go to court in Missouri because the Missouri courts aren't equipped to handle it. So we've always done them in New York. And you have a judge that can look at the contract and look at all the safeguards that have been put into place. And basically they will be able to bind the minor to the contract, because otherwise, if you're a major record label and there's not a way to bind a kid to a contract, then you'd probably never sign any kids, because they could just walk away from the deal anytime they want. They can walk away even once they turn 18, because they can say, I didn't know what I was looking at. So these courts, the court can actually make it so that the minor stays in the contract. There are some very specific things that get set up, including a block trust account, which is where a certain amount of the child performer's earnings go into this block trust account where the parents can't get to it. And the kid can get to it when they turn either 18 or 21, but the parents can't get to this portion of the earnings. The parents can still get to the majority of it, but they can't get to that.
Does that even fluctuate?
Does
Like
what
per case? Does, like, when the contract gets set up, is it fluctuated per case? Like Britney Spears, could hers have been like she only gets 30%, but like Justin Timberlake got 70%, depending on who the parents are and how it got set up?
No, actually, in New York, under New York law, it's 15%.
That's it?
That's it. It's not like, yes, it's not a huge amount, but it's big enough that for what Britney was making in those days, 15% was still a decent amount. But when you look at it, the parents are still probably providing a house for the kid. They're probably supporting the child in some way. So getting a little bit of help from the kid's earnings makes some sense. But 15% is not very much. You are correct.
Barbara, speaking of artists, can you share with us some of the artists that you have here in St. Louis, or that you represent?
Yes. Some of these are past clients and some of them are present clients. So kind of some of each. Ron Isley, I did all the paperwork for him, signing him with his last distributor and his last solo album. An artist from here named Luhkel, Luhkel, that is real popular with high school girls. Then I've also, for a long time, represented a label here in town where we had Genuine on our label for a while, and Johnny Gill, and a bunch of other artists. I work with a lot of producers, a whole bunch of producers that are local, but that are known nationwide, and then a bunch of independent labels and as well, some artist managers. So it's kind of some of everybody.
How did you get into this? Like, what made you choose entertainment versus?
Yeah, that's a great question, because this is so interesting.
I was actually a music major when I started college. I didn't stay a music major, but I was a music major. And when I moved to St. Louis after law school, one of my best friends is a jazz singer. So I'd be hanging out with her, with all the jazz artists, and they started out, all of her bandmates would come and say, I got a ticket, can you deal with my ticket? And then it progressed to, I have this contract, can you look at this contract? And so it just kind of progressed from there. And I realized there weren't a lot of people in St. Louis that dealt with entertainment law. And so I started to go, I had to go to New York and LA to go to some continuing ed classes and learn about it. I found a couple of mentors and just started studying it and realized there was a need for it. There's still only 3 or 4 of us in St. Louis that do this. And there's definitely a need here. And so then when Nelly had his school, the Extreme Institute, I taught entertainment law there as well. And that was a lot of fun, actually. Because my students were all rappers, and I managed to get all these rappers to understand a whole lot about entertainment law and become some shrewd and very good negotiators on their own. And a lot of the class was watching a lot of YouTube videos, which, you know, when you're dealing with 19-year-olds, that's what you got to do. So we had a really good time in that class. We covered a lot of different fun areas.
Mm. You mentioned working with managers and producers. Can you speak real quickly before we close about the importance of a team of people that can help you navigate the business world of entertainment?
Yes, it's important to have, and it's difficult to put together a real team right at the beginning, especially a manager, because managers work on a commission. So at the very beginning, you're just starting out. You're not making money from shows or anything, probably, or very little. So, you know, the manager's 20% of zero is still going to be zero. So it can be very difficult to find somebody that wants to be your manager, that everybody wants to be your manager when you're successful. But it's not so easy when you're not successful. Probably the more important person, I think, to get on your team is to align yourself with a producer that has some connections. There are a lot of producers here in St. Louis that have a lot of connections, big connections. And if you can get yourself with them, and you don't necessarily have to sign something with them, although they may want you to, but they can open a lot of doors for you, far more than an entertainment lawyer can, because these guys are really in the thick of it all the time. And they are respected. Producers they're often very good business people, and they're respected by the labels, by the other artists in the industry. And so you want to get yourself aligned with somebody like that. They also, if you go in and record with them, they have the ability to put your stuff up there for you and get yourself onto the platforms. One of the other things for an up and
that's all the time we have for now, Barbara. I feel like you are a tremendous wealth of opportunity and information, and who knew about the producers being such a linchpin. We can't thank you enough for taking out all this time of your day to speak with us about entertainment law, conservatorship, as well as the mental health toll and aspects that artists, athletes, and entertainers experience. We want people to learn more about you. So to learn more about Barbara, visit blg-law.com. And after you check her out, be sure you find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, or visit us at stltv.net. I'm Jade Harrell for Amber Clear, TEENA Love, and Amy Rivera. We'll see you next time for another episode of Let's Talk.
Sorry, what happened?
Can Karis hear me? Go up to Jade and push that tape down. It's popping up. Jade, you got to sit still.
Ooh, Jade, mom's yelling at you.
Go get
That was
trouble.
still, I thought.
No, push it down some more.
Push it down, push it real good.
Right there.
No,
Okay.
you're gonna make me
Just
move
like
and
that.
I'm gonna get in
That
trouble.
material, you're gonna have to be careful